What's up guys, Lewis here from Indivisible, bringing you our kind of rundown or run through of EGX Rezzed 2019, or more importantly, we're going to bring you our top 10 indie games from the show floor. Now, if you didn't know what EGX Rezzed was, it's one of the UK's biggest gaming expos and focuses mostly just on indie games. It's kind of the little sister to the EGX event, which happens in September and takes place over Tobacco Docks in London. This year's event ran from the 4th to the 6th of April and offered over 200 games to play, mostly indie, but there was a couple of AAAs sprinkled in there for good measure. But with the expo mostly focused on indie games, as I've said, it's a pretty big event for us and one that we absolutely love. Normally we only cover it for 2 days, but this year we attacked EGX Rezzed pretty hard, taking a team of 4 people there for the full 3 days. And although we didn't play every single game the show offered, we definitely saw every game in action and played well over 150 of the games on offer. So enough of going through what EGX Rezzed is, let's get into the real meat of why you're here. What are our 10 indie games from the show floor? Now, just to point out that these games are not ranked. We are not going from 10th to 1st. These are just 10 games that we played as a team on the show floor, and we cannot wait to play more of in the future. So without further ado, let's dive into our top 10 picks from EGX Rezzed 2019. We kick off with Trials of Fire by Whatboy Games, which is coming to early access in May this year. Now, Trials of Fire is a deck building RPG where the overworld looks very much like a classic RPG. What was great about Trials of Fire is that the cards aren't too overcomplicated to understand at first and almost offer a kind of simple pick up and play gameplay. However, as you'd expect with any deck building game, the challenge can ramp up pretty quickly. And by what we saw in the demo, Trials of Fire does look to offer a pretty brutal challenge as you go further into the game. Moving through the overworld will challenge you to maintain certain stats for your party, much like many survival games, including hunger and thirst. What was nice about this mechanic was when your team did get hungry or thirsty, you kind of had debuff cards go into your deck, which you couldn't help, meaning you draw into them when you needed a more important card in battle. We couldn't see the full deck building potential of Trials of Fire at EGX Rezzed, but what we did see offered a lot of potential and has got us very excited for when the game does come to early access in May this year.
The truth about survival.
Next, we move to Fade to Silence by Black Forest Games, which is actually available in early access now, but is coming to consoles and getting a full release on PC on the 30th of April. Now, instantly, when we saw Fade to Silence, you couldn't help but notice how gorgeous the game looked. And when you sat down and played it, you were instantly sucked into the intriguing and dark world the game offered. This is a classic style open world game where you have nests to clear, missions to complete, and other open world activities to keep you occupied. Now, it wasn't the open world gameplay that kind of sucked us in, it was more of the very bizarre mechanics that were happening out of nowhere. We were having random rusty cars fall from the sky, only to turn around and find some kind of very bizarre giant floating alien orb. The devs at the show were very coy on telling us any story spoilers, but they did say that the game will offer around 40 hours of gameplay, and the way the story is told is actually through dreams, meaning that once you've done missions or other open world activities, you go back to your base and you sleep, and the dream you have will give you some insight into the past of this dark and frozen world. These dreams can be anything from 10 seconds all the way through to 2 minutes, and offer the real narrative element of Fade to Silence. Everything we saw or played of Fade to Silence, including the harsh survival mechanics, the combat, and the intriguing world that you move through, all made us excited for the game when it comes to PS4, Xbox One, or a full release on PC on the 30th of April. Now next, we're going to speak about probably my favourite game at the show, or at least a game I definitely had the most fun with, and that is American Fugitive by Fallen Tree Games, which is expected to release later 2019. Now, American Fugitive sees you playing as a guy who was imprisoned for the murder of their father, but they didn't do it, so they break out of prison to try and seek redemption for the person that did actually kill their father. Now, as the devs quite rightly pointed out to me, this is not so much a game about redemption, as this guy, you are running around killing cops, you're killing members of the public, you're holding up grocery stores, you're kind of just causing classic GTA style havoc. So rather than a game of redemption, it's more a game of, well, just revenge. Now honestly, I had so much fun playing this game for only 20 minutes. It felt so much like classic GTA games and had a perfect balance between offering kind of serious story-based missions and just open sandbox goofiness, including picking up a forklift and flipping cop cars over. Honestly, I cannot wait to get my hands on American Fugitive, as it is coming to all consoles including the Nintendo Switch and PC later this year. Up next, we have no doubt one of the standout games from EGX Rezzed 2019, and that is Indivisible by Lab Zero Games. Straight off the bat, Indivisible looks absolutely stunning, and honestly, when you're playing the game, it feels absolutely stunning as well. Moving through the hand-drawn world and interacting with the different hand-drawn characters all feels amazing. One thing I did notice is the personality of each character is really kind of built upon throughout the game. An example of this is in combat, when you choose to block, rather than just putting up a shield, each character blocks with something based around their persona. For example, a pirate woman I met in the demo would block using the front hull of a ship. It's kind of little touches like this that made Indivisible really stand out. But although the game looks genuinely glorious, that is not the only reason to play Indivisible. In fact, it's not even half the reason to play Indivisible. The reason Indivisible stands out so much is due to its genuinely excellent combat system. Now, trying to explain this might be a little bit cumbersome, but just stick with me for a minute. So the combat plays out in a kind of real-time turn-based style, where as a team of 4, each character will charge up a bar. Once it's fully charged, it allows them to attack. But the enemies are also charging up this bar at the same time. Now, as the player, you have the option to kind of stack up these attacks and unleash a 4-character combo on the enemy, doing huge amounts of damage, or you can kind of go for chip damage attacks at the enemy and try and grind away at them slowly. To add even more depth to the combat mechanics, it's almost best seen as a kind of fighting game in terms of when the enemies come to attack you, you are rewarded for blocking on time rather than just holding down the block. Also on top of that is enemies can grab you, but you cannot dodge a grab. Instead you must tech a grab, and if you don't know what tech a grab means, it basically means you must hit an attack button as the grab is about to land. Now, all these combat mechanics probably feel a little bit overwhelming at first, and in all honesty, they did feel a little bit overwhelming when I was playing the demo. However, it only took me 5 minutes to get a feel for Indivisible, and once the game clicks, then honestly, Indivisible is one of the standout indie games releasing later this year. I cannot wait to get my hands on it when it comes to PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC sometime 2019. Now, the next game we're going to mention doesn't actually have a trailer available, so we're going to just show you some off-screen footage. But this game deserves every bit of the mention it is going to get. And honestly, just behind American Fugitive, some of the most fun I had in a game at the show this year. And that is Holo Fist. Now, Holo Fist is probably best seen as an adult take on Pokemon. And no, that is not a pornographic adult take on Pokemon, but rather a kind of mature language on Pokemon. The developers, Rachel and Jake, summed it up an absolute treat when they said it's kind of best seen as a Pokemon game made by Adult Swim. So Holo Fist sees you playing as Mindy in a world populated by what are called Holo Buddies, your kind of Pokemon style creatures. Now, in the demo there are only 3 Holo Buddies available, but they all offered a unique aesthetic look and a unique kind of personality. Moving through this overworld, you go into random battle encounters where you play out in kind of turn-based Pokemon style combat. You can move in a kind of grid-based mechanic in these encounters, which actually plays a lot more depth into the game than I first realised, meaning that a lot of the Holo Buddies attacks are ranged. So if you move further back and then used a ranged attack, they might not actually be able to hit you the next turn around. As you delve further into the demo, you unlock what are called Holo cards, and these add even more to the Holo Buddy battles. Holo cards are kind of buffs or health regens that you can give your Holo buddies in battle, or that's all they were in the demo that I played. What really took me back about Holo Fist was how early in development the game is, but the game feels genuinely solid. Now the devs did mention that pretty much all the mechanics are already built for the game, they just don't really have a story mode and don't really have a fully fleshed game yet. But from what I played of the demo at EGX, honestly this game is super tight, it feels really nice, and the combat genuinely feels very tactical. It felt like every decision I was making was paying off, and when I died, it was completely my fault. Not the game's, just my fault. Holo Fist is no doubt my surprise of the show, and a game I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on as development continues through to its release date around about the end of 2020, maybe the start of 2021. Next, we move to a sport-inspired team game that, as a team, we sit down on several occasions and had a lot of fun with, and that is Still Circus. Now, Still Circus is currently going through closed alpha weekends where you can jump on and play the game for a set weekend. If you want to sign up to the game, then check the description below to sign up to the next closed alpha weekend. But what is Still Circus? Well, Still Circus is a sport-inspired team game where you play as different heroes, and the main aim of the game is to throw the ball into the net, much like handball. Now, each hero that you choose offers a different approach to the game. There are both defensive and offensive heroes. For example, there was a Scottish hero who felt very defensive, in terms of one of their abilities was to play the bagpipes, which slowed down everyone inside the AoE around them. Compare that to this helmet suit wearing ninja dude who could go underground and zip around and even swap places with other heroes. They felt very offensive. What felt really good about Still Circus was how each hero genuinely offered a different approach to the game. Now the game is still not complete, and one thing that we did notice that was slightly missing was almost a kind of a ping mode. So if you were free and you wanted to pass, or you thought there was a clear line of sight to you, you could ping to try and get your teammates to pass you. But with that said, when you did move the ball as a team, it genuinely felt seriously satisfying. Honestly, we cannot wait to play more Still Circus, and we're going to be streaming it when the next closed alpha goes live in about 4 weeks' time. Still Circus is developed by Iron Mountain Interactive and being published by Oasis Games, and is releasing in early access summer this year.
My king, his wish was easily apprised. More heirs he sought to sire. When no sons lived, I advised eternal life for him to acquire. I fed him dark and whispered lies to fuel his inner fire.
Up next, we have a cooperative game that Dan and Tom sat down and played, and, well, in honesty, they wouldn't shut up about, and that is We Were Here Together. Now, We Were Here Together is the third part of a trilogy, the original games being We Were Here and We Were Here 2, both of which are available now on Steam. The first one is even free. But We Were Here Together, what was so great about this game? Well, what Dan and Tom loved about the game was the use of the walkie-talkie system. When you sat down next to each other for the demo, your screens were slightly turned, so you couldn't actually see what your teammate was doing. And you had to use the headsets as a walkie-talkie to communicate with each other. This even included the kind of 1 or 2 second delay you would get on a walkie-talkie, so it did require some tight teamwork communication to get the environmental puzzle solved. Just hearing Tom and Dan talk about the game genuinely made me pretty excited. Hearing the way they kind of adjusted the way they would speak and the use of stuff like over just to make sure they were getting it right. Now the demo was timed and they went back on several occasions to try and finish the game or finish the demo that was available there, and all of which they didn't quite succeed. But every single time they did go back, they finished the game having even more fun than the previous. We Were Here Together doesn't have a set release date, but is coming sometime 2019. If you want to check out the original games, We Were Here, which is free now on Steam, or We Were Here 2, which is available for a paid price on Steam right now.
Be my salvation, or shall my name spell out your doom?
Up next, we are moving to one of the most adorable games at the show, and that is Eastward. Now, Eastward is being developed by Pixpill and published by Chucklefish, and fits in well with the Chucklefish's brand of that kind of cutesy pixel game. So what is Eastward? Well, Eastward is an adventure game where you switch between two characters to solve a series of puzzles. The game is set in rural Japan, and the emphasis of switching between the two characters is really kind of emphasised or built upon as the demo went on, and hopefully as the game goes on as a whole. Now there is some combat in the game, and in all honesty, some of it didn't feel great, but after speaking to the devs, we did find out that Eastward is very early in development. We shouldn't be expecting this game until the end of 2020. But what we did see of Eastward, and the time we spent sat down playing the demo, clearly showed off the game's potential, and we cannot wait to see more of Eastward as it gets closer to that release date in 2020.
I think we just got schooled by a kid.
Whatever! We're so going to stop this noise right now!
Now, a game that caught my attention before the show even started was No Straight Roads. So getting to EGX Rezzed, sitting down as a team to play No Straight Roads was something we were very excited about, and I'm pleased to say that the game did not disappoint. So No Straight Roads is a boss rush action game heavily influenced with music. Now the devs did stress they did not want to make this a rhythm game, although there are many gameplay mechanics that do sit in the kind of rhythm game tropes. For example, when you're doing these boss rush fights, notes from the ceiling or other attacks that bosses will throw at you will go to the beat, meaning that if you're really listening to the music and you're tapped into the music, then you can parry or dodge these attacks based on when the beat is coming. Now in the demo I played, you were fighting against a disco DJ, and their attacks coming to the beat was very apparent, and it also meant that I had the ability to parry these attacks, which felt genuinely great when it worked, and it worked pretty much every single time. No Straight Roads is being developed by Metronomic and is set to release summer 2019. Honestly, if you're looking for an action-packed boss rush game with a big emphasis on music, look no further than No Straight Roads.
Okay! Rock yeah! Yeah! Hey! Give it down! Hey! Give it down! Listen to this! Surprise, buttface!
Do try not to die while action items remain unticked.
We wrap up this top 10 list with Void Bastards, which is being developed by Blue Manchu. Now, Void Bastards was tucked away in the ID at Xbox room, which was a bit of a shame, as many people would have probably missed the game, and they really shouldn't have. Straight off the bat, the game looks very appealing due to its kind of comic book style visuals, and that looks to be built upon more and more as the game goes on. Now, although Void Bastards looks like it fits in with that kind of looter shooter FPS style gameplay, it actually offers a lot more depth than that, as this is a strict strategy based FPS game. Now, the short demo that we got to play, you didn't really get to delve into the strategy mechanics of the game, but you could see where the game was going and you could see the potential it was offering. Customization is almost endless in Void Bastards, whether that's your loadout or the team you are looking to recruit as you move across the galaxy, just laying waste to pretty much any badass that stands in your way. Now, as we said, Void Bastards, it looks great, Void Bastards plays great, but most importantly, Void Bastards was a lot of fun to play, and that's what so many games seem to miss nowadays. Are they fun? And we can definitely say Void Bastards ticks all those boxes, and we cannot wait to see more of the game when it releases 2019 on consoles and PC.
Action items ticked.
Well guys, that wraps up our EGX Rezzed 2019 content. If there's any games in this list that you were looking forward to play, or maybe you were even at the show and you got your hands on, then let us know in the comments below. We'd love to get your feedback, and we'd love to know what you're looking forward to playing. there is a lot of other preview content up now on our YouTube channel. So if you want to check out some of the games we spoke about in this video and more games, make sure you check that out on YouTube. And if you want to keep up to date with more indie game content, including news, previews, reviews, and a weekly indie game podcast, make sure you subscribe to Indie Credible. And if you really like what we do, guys, and you want to join the Indie Credible community, be sure to check out the Patreon link in the description below. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Goodbye.